All right, traders, welcome to your end of day recap. This is Christian Farmer at Start Market Trade Group, and it is Monday, February 27th. One more day of the month of February to go. So let's get right into the price action. Before we do that, risk disclaimer in front of you. Everything that we're going through is for information purposes only. Please read the full risk disclaimer here, but kind of felt like a little bit of a sleepy day to start the week. After all, it is Monday. Remember, last week was a holiday shortened week, so this day full week, but yeah, it just kind of felt kind of quiet. The price action moved up in the beginning of the day, but there really wasn't much action thereafter. So kind of a funky looking candle. We could not get above where we were in the beginning of the day. I think once we switch over to the 1 hour chart, you could see a little bit more specifics where we ran into a little bit of resistance for the day. But, we're kind of just, it seems for now, we've had this move up in January on some better macro things, allowing investors to kind of get back into this market. There's a little bit of appetite in the beginning of this year, and then with inflation data coming back up, now I hate to use the word uncertainty, but there's just there is that uncertainty back into the market about how long this inflation is going to stay with us. We were making progress on it, but it's ticked back up, and days like this, I think, are just we're going to see these a bit more common, where if we do start the day up, we're not going to see too many trending days as is to the upside until we start to get a little bit more better macro information, better news from the Fed, and then things can kind of go maybe a little bit more naturally to where they want to go. As I mentioned, I'll go to the 1 hour chart. I thought this was very telling for the day. For the S&P, we touched the top of value. Remember, so we'll go over this obviously more once we get to March, but on the daily chart, every one of these value areas is for the month. So we have, like I said, one more day of February, and then we will be on to March and a new value area. And this value area makes up all of the price and volume action of February. So it's still forming. We have one more day, but most likely we are going to start the period below value, which will be a little bit different, because I don't think we've started below a value area in a good number of months. I think you have to go all the way back to October to see when we actually started the month below value, which was here. And then we've either opened up above value or inside the value area. In the beginning of the month, we opened up above value, broke in. So again, it's going to be a little bit of a different picture for the week, right? On the 1 hour chart, right? We do have also we get a new value area, of course, every week on the 1 hour chart, which is based on all the volume and price activity of last week. So you could see that we got capped right around I think around like 10:30 in the morning, right at the top of value. Price just didn't have enough, I think, conviction to kind of get out of the value area. So that's what the S&P looks like. As I said, I sent out some, as I said earlier, because I sent out some midday observations via Substack, which I will retweet. But the word that just comes to mind very frequently, and I said this in the TTG member weekend video as well, the word most commonly that I use is sideways. I think that we have a good chance to kind of just, without making a prediction, and I'll let the price action dictate, but I think right now it's a lot of sideways price action. Let's get over to the Qs. Qs have a different looking picture, because even though we've come in and basically returned to where we started the month, we are still above value, and we found support at the 200-day moving average, right? So bounce here. Of course, we did not close on the highs. That's why you have a red candle. In fact, we closed below where we opened. It's going to be interesting to see whether or not that does start the period inside the March value area. So we won't have that information for not tomorrow, but obviously the first of the month. And you could see for this week, we are right inside the value area. So there is an 80% rule that's triggered because we started the period, last night, or this morning, I guess, because this is Qs, not Nasdaq futures. But we did start the period outside of the value area. We've got into it, so we'll see if that fulfills for the week. All right, and then the last one really quickly is IWM. IWM actually tried to break the value area for the week and got rejected. This was only up 35 basis points. It also got rejected at the top of value for the month at 190.10. Pretty decent fade. We did see some put activity in IWM as well, right around the highs of the day. Areas that kind of outperformed, I just wanted to go over quickly themes, and I'll go over maybe 2 or 3 stocks here. But even though very choppy and kind of a fade from the highs today, if you look at the sectors, if you didn't know where the performance was of the indices and you looked at some of these groups that led today, metals and mining, which had a huge day today, up 2.5%, solar up 2.2%, clean energy up 2.3%. Right? Again, I have this sorted by which names move the most during the cash session, right? And then if you look at the names that underperformed today, right, you have utilities, they were down 70 basis points. You have consumer staples that lagged, even though I don't see, where's consumer staples in here? Yeah, they were down on the day, right? So once again, even though we've seen some call buying in a couple areas like consumer staples, they're not acting like you might think that they would in a tape like this, right? They're they're not leading, and I've been showing a couple charts too, kind of comparing consumer staples to consumer discretionary. We're just not really seeing any major outperformance like we did last year. The things can change, but for now the defensives just seem to be lagging even in this type of tape right now. So again, a little bit different than what we saw last year. So my take is that I think everybody's kind of just being patient. I think market participants, obviously brokers are, this is a great time if you're like a macro specialist at a broker, right? You're probably, talking about interest rates and inflation and recessions and, all of those types of things, and the Fed and so forth. But it could, what I see right now is that, the market has reverted back, but it doesn't seem to be at this point. We don't see a lot of areas breaking down. So again, that could change. Things could change very quickly, depending on what we get in terms of the next inflation data that comes out in the middle of the month. And then of course, a Fed meeting too, that comes up on the 22nd of the new month. All right. I mentioned I would go over a couple stocks. Again, I've been noticing how well this Tesla has been acting last week, even though when the market kind of was getting hit right around the lows of the day. It's just Tesla came back just about every day last week. So, except for I think that this must have been Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So Tuesday it did not, but Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then also just held the 20-day moving average. So, keep in mind, I think what's going to be pivotal is their investor day, which is not tomorrow, but is Wednesday. So you might see a further, this stock was up 5.5% today, very close to finishing on the highs of the session. There are a couple short-term levels to watch, 210.66, which I have a feeling that this gets taken out tomorrow, the 210.66, and there's also 211.45. Right, these are version point of controls. This is the 5-minute. And then, I thought that there's a possibility that this upside VPOC gets taken out before the event, because a lot of times these events are buy the rumor, sell the news. I think especially with Tesla too. In the old days with Steve Jobs, was a very good presenter, very good marketer. I think Elon, and sorry to say it's anything negative, but I think he's better at what he does, which is designing things and coming out with things. But I don't think he's the best marketer. So sometimes I think these events that they have are like the price runs into the event, and then there's some disappointment a little bit. I've listened to a couple of these things. Sometimes they're very technical too, and and sometimes there isn't just a big announcement. So in any event, those are some levels to watch. If he does say something positive on the first, maybe that 223 VPOC does get taken out, but I think there's a good chance that the 1 hour and the 5 minute, if the market is somewhat stable tomorrow, that there's a good chance that those two things get taken out. Because like I said, names love to run into events. Again, that's buy the rumor, sell the news. So we'll be watching for that one. Another one, considering solar was so good, First Solar reports tomorrow. I actually like this chart. It has a chance here to kind of, it's been going sideways for basically about a month, actually lower from where it started the month. And I actually like First Solar the most out of this solar group, right? Here's what it does on earnings. So the last 3 quarters, it's a positive reaction. You could see that there's plenty of quarters in here too where moves to the downside, but I think it has a chance on earnings, and you might see me go put on an earnings trade if it doesn't really move much from here. So that's 2 stocks I mentioned. I might mention 2 or 3. The metals and mining group was very strong today. Cliff Resources saw a lot of call buying today. If you look at this ETF, which I'll go over the technicals very quickly, in XME, this has more work to do, right? This is one of the sectors that has been above its value area for the year of 2023. It broke in there yesterday. So again, today's just Monday. So this is a very early of a developing candle, but it needs to stay above 54.43. I thought STLD, which increased their dividend, acted pretty well today. I've got a level for you. Notice it got right up to 122.77 and it got rejected there. So that's something to watch for tomorrow. Notice it did get above the moving averages. ATKR is another one that looks pretty good. Saw this tiny call buying. And then MP, which was probably the best of the bunch here. That has a VPOC coming up at 36.35, so I would watch that. But pretty nice move, closed on the highs of the session. That name reported earnings last week. All right, guys, that is it for the end of day video for Monday. Have a great night. See you tomorrow.